What's going on, guys? Good evening. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of Trafford Talk. Yes, we are back despite rumours and, rumblings. The show is cancelled or gone on hiatus 10 different times. We are back, and hey, this could have been a skippable week with what happened last night. Manchester United losing for the first time under Michael Carrick at St. James's Park against a 10-man Newcastle. And the discussion of, has this been coming? Is this a reality check? Is this going to lead to a run of negative performances and results? Or, like others are saying, it's the first loss since before Christmas. Things are actually all right. We're still third. It's still in our own hands. It's totally fine. We're going to be discussing it all this evening. Big up to James from the Muppeteers joining me as always. How are you feeling, my friend, after what happened last night?
It was bad. Yesterday feels bad. Definitely feels bad. The nature of the loss, how it happened, the performance, the lots of things surrounding it definitely feel pretty bad. But like you said, I think in general, it's finding the right balance on discussion of where we are, where we actually are, where things should be, and where we can go moving forward from this, because that's really the most important thing. The past does us no good. But yeah, I don't know. I feel a bit negative, but that's just, it's also just losing and these long gaps. And I think the biggest worry that I just have when we lose a game is not like the discussions over this and that, but are we going to get Champions League? We really need Champions League. Yeah. We really can't have another season like this. And I mean, I would take Europa League over this season any day, but yeah, we really do need Champions League for the things we need, the problems that we need to solve and all of that, like badly.
Yeah, no, it's true, isn't it? I mean, some changes to some fixtures that are upcoming came out yesterday, and moving to Mondays because, of course, they can, because, they can take advantage of that.
During the week, yeah.
Exactly, because we don't play during the week. And then also as well, there's the stark reminder that we've effectively going to play a game against Bournemouth and then wait 3 weeks to play again within a season.
3 days.
Yeah, which is unprecedented for Manchester United to have a gap that is like that big and it not be rated to like pre-season or, what I mean, or one season going to the next. It's just ridiculous. So you're right. The long-term vision for the end of this season still has to be, are we going to get into the Champions League? But which way are you leaning after that? Because it seems like there are sort of two camps of thought here post that result last night. A lot of people are going, reality check. This has been coming. The last sort of 3 or 4 performances haven't been great. Yes, we've been getting results, but the performances have been hinting at this, and this is a reality check of actually where we're at. Or are you leaning more towards like, one-off game, bit of madness, primarily, yes, it's against 10 men, but we've seen over the last few weeks the team that's probably going to win the title lose or drop points to basically a relegated team already, and we're seeing teams that aren't that good taking points off big teams. No one can really do consistency. So, yeah, maybe it's a little bit of a reality check, but not that much because you're not going to win every game anyway. Where do you lean with it?
More towards the former, but at the same time, what you said in that last bit is totally true as well. And to me, it's like, that's where the discussion has to be sensible, because it's more towards the former, but it's not like, oh, Carrick, you piece of shit, you terrible coach, you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, that's not it for me. That's not how it is. But the reality is it's the former because of what you said in the latter. The league is so tight. Everybody is good. Like, if you look at stats, it's real interesting. I was just reading something this morning. I cannot remember, but it was showing this graph, and it's like how tight the league is, but they're good. They're not bad. It's not like the league is down here on the numbers. Everyone's actually like pretty good. And because everybody's pretty good, and I think relative to Europe, when you look at it, it was like six English teams in the next rounds of the competitions in Europe.
Yeah.
They're dominating the European competitions right now. Tottenham, who could be relegated 1 point above relegation, are like flying in the Champions League. What the fuck? What is going on with this? But I think it's because the league is so difficult. It is a bit of a reality check. Our performances, the margins between our performances and the teams we're playing is really small. And just as easy as we can go on a run of wins, we can go on a run of losses for the same reason, because the margins are small, because the league is very tough. That doesn't mean, Carrick's blown it and he's done something so wrong. It's just, this is how it is. And I don't like to, you don't want to dredge up all of the past things and all of that, you know, but you look at, like, we've had 2 games kind of, I was looking at bookended here. We lost to Everton at home against 10 men with a red card. And then Newcastle, we lose away 10 men with a red card. They're not that different. You know, at the end of the day, everything that's happened has not been that different. The same problems we had in the first game, we had in that game, which was game week 12, believe it or not. It feels like it was,
really?
for some reason, it feels like it was later in the season, but it was actually pretty
Yeah.
early. It just, I don't know. We've got issues, but I don't know that we have solutions. So I'm more worried because I think it's easy for us to get caught. You know, we had a hard, you know, we look at Wolves, and it's all very funny that they beat Liverpool, but that was essentially what lost Ruben Amorim's job in the end, was a draw to Wolves. And you look at that and you go, not saying you shouldn't be out of the job. That's not the discussion I'm trying to have, but I'm saying, when you look back on things and you go, man, it is tight. Wolves taking points off Arsenal, Liverpool, all of that.
Yeah.
Every game, you don't need to overreact to every game. It's more the big picture that does worry me, that our performances are not good enough where I feel confident we're going to go and win the next week right now.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think, like, at the point of all of these things, there's a lot of nuance that really needs to go into what happened last night. One is, the performances haven't been great, you know, in the last few games, and it has felt like at points, we're getting away with it a little bit, or slow starts here, but, you know, as long as you get over the line, it's okay, kind of masks it a bit. So that comes into it. The other part that comes into it, like you said, is just the volatility of the Premier League. You're never going to win every single game. You're never going to go unbeaten. I know Arsenal do the whole invincible thing, but it's not going to happen. So when we're on that winning streak and people are asking the question, is it sustainable? The actual real answer is no, because you're not going to win every game anyway. So that's part of it. I think another part of it is it does actually expose how much work, once again, we've got to do in the summer when it comes to recruitment, because, you know, we look at our team on paper, you go, all right, cool, good team. Then you look at the bench and go, there's nothing really there. There's nothing really there on that bench. And then you go, oh, is that because of injuries? And you go, yeah. But then you name some of the injured players, you go, actually, I mean, they'd be all right for having on the bench, but bring them on, game change. I mean, obviously there are some big people like, you know, Leach is a big miss. Dorgu with his form is a big miss. But other people, when you go, oh, we'll miss Mason Mount, you go, yeah, you know, it's not really going to, what's that really going to do? So it does go to show that also we're pretty threadbare when it comes to options as well at the moment. That's a part of it too. And, you know, you just go to St. James's Park, you might lose. You might lose. I mean, the 10 men is the thing that really makes it painful, because the assumption is in football, down to 10, go win. We did it against Palace at the weekend. Why couldn't we do it against Newcastle
as well? You know?
Exactly.
We've had a bit of luck with red cards too, as part of the why I think it's like
Yeah. But I think, like I said, and also you always want to be really careful when you lose a match. You never want to do the thing straight away when you go, it's not the end of the world. You know, it's all right. Where are we? Still on the table. It's okay. Because that just generates a overwhelmingly standards. What you say, you're happy with losing, that kind of stuff. And it's like, no, but in the same way that when Carrick has won an individual game, after I'm like, that's why he should get the Man United job. I also don't, when he loses his first game, look at it and go, well, that's why he shouldn't. You know, nothing has really changed all that much, you know, from that result last night. You look at the table where we're at, pretty much in the same position. We're still third. We could have been much more comfortable, is what it is. We could go and play Villa, not this weekend because we're not involved, but next weekend, win. And suddenly we're in a really comfortable position there as well. So, from Michael Carrick's perspective, it's just, he's probably as is. From any other perspective, he's probably just there, just as is. Are we still on course for qualifying for Champions League? Yes. Cool. That's all right.
Yeah.
You know.
That's the thing. Yeah, I've been saying that recently, that I don't think we should be looking at Carrick on like, we won this game, that means Carrick in. We lost this game, that means Carrick out. And it's kind of a holdover from the way that we kind of talked about Amorim for most of this year, because that's how it was. Every single game was a reference point or a referendum on in or out, right? We don't need to do that. We really shouldn't be doing that with Carrick. We really shouldn't be seeing it that way with Carrick. You know, I think that he's got a job to accomplish this season. And based on whether he accomplishes it, how he accomplishes it, we can look at the body of work as a whole and all the factors included to figure out, should he get the job or not, as well as alternatives, as well as things like that. I think that's part of why the discussion has gotten so toxic on one thing, is because anytime we're talking about managers, the discussion gets crazy. I mean, it doesn't matter what is going on. Anytime there's debate about it, the discussion gets crazy. And I think right now we're looking at two separate conversations, which was last night and should Carrick be here next year? And some people feel really strongly about Carrick shouldn't be here next year. And so everything that goes on is going to be a referendum on that. And it's going to be, and I get it, because I feel this way a little bit too this season. I don't know about you, but I kind of get the idea, because, you know, when you do YouTube and these things, you know the stats, you know the numbers and watchers and things like that and things. Yeah, United fans are kind of checked out a little bit in a strange way, even though the season's ongoing. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird how like people will check in and then they'll just disappear for weeks. Yeah, and not really want to think about football.
Yeah, I don't think, and to be fair, again, I felt it too, you know, over the last about like 2 years, you know, even when we played a lot last year, because of losing so often, it was just, you know what I mean? I can't do this to myself. You know what I mean? I can't do this to myself. And then it was even the same this season. You know, at points people sort of dip their toes back in, but I think it's still this kind of, you know, you hurt me before, you're gonna have to show me something a bit longer term. Have you really changed, kind of thing? And it's the answer's no still. So it's kind of like, well, you know, wait to the end of the season. And I was just thinking, when you were talking about the managerial stuff, we haven't really had solid footing on who our manager is going to be for, since Fergie, but certainly, you know, over the last 2-3 seasons, like I said, after every game, it's always a debate about whoever, Ten Hag, Amorim, and obviously now Carrick. And I think we're just waiting for some stability for it to stop being so erratic. But I suppose then when it comes to that, this is when, you know, to take the other perspective here, I have some people saying that, well, it wasn't just last night, which is why maybe I've got my concerns. It wasn't just last night's result. It has been some of these performances. And I wanted to get your take on this, because initially when Carrick first came in, there were those reports that said he had basically toned down the intensity of the training. He made things a bit lighter. The players were really enjoying the sessions, but they were told they can come in later, they can arrive to the matches later, etc., etc. And effectively, this was the quick wins kind of thing. How do I up morale? How do I, you know, make people feel good and enjoying themselves? And that can get you, in the very, very short term, some very good performances and some very good results. But over the more longer term, and I don't even mean like a year, just like 6 months, for instance, 3 months in, which was like halfway through what his tenure could be, has that now led to a drop of intensity on the pitch? Because it's, even though we play once a week, we look like the less sharp team, and we look like a team that's more leggy and less intense. Do those things correlate together, do you think? Or is that just a coincidence?
I think they do, to a degree. You know, many times I've said in the past about this team, and we've all been here, there's still a lot of players in this squad that have done this before. Yeah, they've turned up and they've turned down when they so please. We've got people in here who turn up and have turned down since Ollie's been here. You know, with Carrick as coach, he's seen it firsthand. And I look at that and I go, he's a little bit odd, you know, on that front. And I think again, it's where there's nuance, because you say something like that and people are like, oh, you're saying they're downing tools and things. No, it's just people have a natural instinct in the way that they're going to do things. People have a natural way of being, you know, like water flows to the easiest path. It's the path of least resistance is always how people are going to naturally be. So when you make things easier, then sometimes they will take it easy, you know, and they will just take it easy. Anybody's going to do it. It's just natural. It's just the way you do it. And you have to remember, like, these are footballers. And while you get the odd psychopath, you know, like a Ronaldo, they're like that for a reason, because not everybody's like Ronaldo from a work ethic standpoint. Not everybody's like that. Ronaldo commented on that, including a lot of the people here. Just talent. That there's a lot of players who just had talent and they didn't really work that hard at United when he was here. That's how he saw it. So with those players, it's like, you almost have to force them into those hard patterns, because otherwise they are just a bunch of millionaires kicking the ball around, and they can be a bit lazy, and it can happen like that. And you need that motivation. And so I think there's a bit of that, but we also did see that with Ollie. Ollie came in, it was like, free the boys. I'm not trying to like do the PE teacher thing, but I'm saying that was the attitude, right? Give them the freedom. Yeah. Lads are going to express themselves, etc. We go 5-1, smash Cardiff first game. We're flying. Everything's brilliant. It's amazing. And then you hit a point where it's like discipline dropped to the absolute bottom, you know, that Everton game.
Because that's the interim playbook, isn't it? That's the problem, isn't it? The interim playbook isn't about the long term. It's about, it's immediacy, isn't it? It's about, I need results now. And Carrick's remit is from now to the end of the season. It's not long term. But this is, I suppose, where the conversation does get a bit muddied, because, well, how can he be the long-term manager if he's only doing things for the short term? That kind of gives no indication for what he would do long term.
Right.
Then maybe he would change things. You know what I mean? So how can you judge that? You know, I didn't. And also, I think this is the point that doesn't get discussed enough as well. I think there's just a level of arrogance to some of the players too. I think because they started winning matches more frequently, I genuinely think in some games when they're playing a perceived lesser team, I think they just think the opposition will roll over, and because they're so great, they will score a goal, basically. You know, so when they play Palace at home, they go, Palace, they've been rubbish recently. Look where they are in the Prem. We've beaten City, we've beaten Arsenal. Yeah, pass it around sideways for a bit, and chances are we'll win. And then they don't get that on the day, and then you realize you've got kind of up the levels, and they don't really know how, or because they haven't done it as much recently, they're kind of stuck. And it feels like that as well. But I don't know, from a coaching perspective, if what does Carrick do? Suddenly get really intense training sessions? You know, switch things back to how they were before when they didn't like it? I mean, I don't know. What's the solution to that?
Probably. I guess to a degree, I look at it and I go, I don't really care what they like. You know what I mean? Like sometimes that is a part of it. Like I get really nervous when I start seeing the reports. Oh, players are so happy and players all this and that. Because I go, I'm not an enemy of the players, but like, who cares? Like at the end of the day, I'm not saying like it needs to be brutal and it needs to be mean, but you know, training's only a few hours a day. It's not like this is not a full-time. It's not even a full-time job. In a lot of instances, when you really understand the reality of there's travel, and on the match days and things, it's like it's going to be a 14-hour day, like the whole travel, everything that goes involved, the debriefs, all that. But it's not otherwise. And you go just kick it up a bit. But this is the question of interims, because statistically, what happens with every single interim is they get a bounce and then they get a drop. Now, there's clubs where that doesn't happen, like you look at Tottenham and things. But you know, when Ollie came in, we were 6th. And then we ended in 6th. When Ralph came in, it was the same thing, 6th to 6th. You know, even when Ruben came in, not as an interim, we actually were better the first like 6 weeks, and then it got really bad again. We
just never won again.
We just never won again, and it went really bad. But it's like every manager that comes in, you'll get that, because they change something and people go, "Oh, this is great," and it's like, you know, new boss is here, time to impress, time to work hard for them, and then the shine wears off of, I got to impress the new boss. I'm fighting for my place. The team is, I'm worried a bit that the static nature of how he picks the team is actually a bad thing, in that it can be very demotivational for the squad. So when you start ending up needing other players, they're coming in like, you don't want me. I'm not even a part of this team. I have no chance of earning a place in this team. You know, and when I say that, that's not an excuse. It's just, I think that's when discipline hits, right? That's when the discipline level hits. When the shine wears off, it's about the hard yards, the discipline work. And that's why I fear the discipline falling off, because you'll see that, and then the shine wears off, and then suddenly, if discipline is dropped, the levels drop too.
And it's delicate as well, isn't it? Because let's say the results now do take a turn for the worse, right? Then the players can easily go, oh, they took a turn for the worse. Well, what's he going to do? He's not going to be here next season anyway. I'll just carry. You know what I mean?
What's the consequence? Where's the consequences now?
Exactly.
That's the scary part about interims. Yeah,
that's the problem too. And I mean, when it comes to that as well, because I've seen, once again, this is the kind of critique of maybe not necessarily Carrick, but I think it's a mixture of Carrick and the squad too. So there was a lot of people going last night. We basically had no width at all. You know, Cunha's on the left. He's always going to be cutting in. Carrick said that we're going to be looking at a left winger, but I think that's just kind of natural. We don't have one, so we need one kind of thing. But then even on the right, it was kind of the same, which is kind of surprising with Mbumo. But then I suppose maybe if Šeško doesn't play, then Bumo's up front. Ahmad's there, gives you a bit more width naturally there. Is that a problem? Is that a Carrick tactical problem, or is that well, that's what we've got. So if we're going to play that, that's the issues we're going to have. We don't have wingers. Is that just it?
That's part of the hard discussion here. Is it's like, I don't
Yeah.
know. That's what makes the decision so hard. Like, I look at it and I think about that.
What's the alternative?
Yeah, what are you going to do otherwise?
If Cunha doesn't play there, I mean, maybe that's why Dorgu did do so well, because he's obviously like the only left winger that we've got. Otherwise we don't have
at the same
else.
time, Cunha was probably the only player who. No, I mean Bruno did, but in the first half especially, Cunha was the only one doing anything. Out on that side, he was winning some duels. He was getting by 1-on-2, getting to the box. Like, Cunha was trying to make some things happen in a way that a lot of players weren't. But no, it's like, what is the alternative? And part of the question, this is where I think we could discuss the long term of Carrick, right? What could he do to earn a job? Because if I look at it, I go, all right, we do have problems, and they're not his fault. They have nothing to do with Carrick. We have huge issues in the midfield. They have nothing to do with Carrick. We have huge issues in physicality, athleticism. They have nothing to do with Carrick. Let's say we don't even blame, the energy or the fitness issues on Carrick. And we just say, look, we've got guys who've been here forever that always fade towards the end of the season. It happens every year, which it does. It happens every year. Ten Hag's first season, post-League Cup final, the rest of the season was a disaster after the 7-0 Liverpool. Like, every year we're fading. In some of our worst years, we pick it up a little towards the end, but most of the year we're fading at the end of the season. So I say, well, let's say none of that's his fault, which most of it isn't. It has really nothing to do with him. I'm more asking a question. By default, Michael Carrick shouldn't be in the job just by default, right? Like, there should be a good reason to hire him. What could he do to earn it? And this is one of the things I look at, is say, look at the problems we're having, the performances we have, the decline in certain things, and make some brave choices. Not because it's your fault if you don't and it doesn't work. It's sort of like, it's a free hit though. Try something. If it works, you're going to get a lot of credit for it. And I know he's going to get blamed if it doesn't work. Is that what happened last night
with Casemiro thing? You know what I mean? Because when he took Casemiro off, well, I know for a fact, obviously Flex and myself, we said it on the match view, but I think a lot of people probably did as well, going, that's a big call. Because recently he's been leaving Casemiro on to the end because he knows take him off, influence is gone. But is that one of those calls that you mentioned? Because that's also one thing he's criticised for, going, well, why did you make that substitution? And also, this is the problem with interim to permanent, is because all of those things you're mentioning there's nothing he can do externally about those. So he can't wait to get a new left winger in. He can't wait to get new midfielders. There's nothing he can do of that. So all he can do is basically compromise, maybe some things, and try and get the best out of what he's got, right? That's because any coach should. They should be like, right, these are my tools. I'm not getting anything else. How do I get the best out of them? But that isn't maybe any indicator of the future, because they're not really showing what their true beliefs or true philosophy is. So you're in this weird damned if you do, damned if you don't thing. Because, what should he do to get the job? Well, it's results, it's win. But some of those wins can be due to tactics and philosophies that maybe he doesn't really, he wouldn't do in an ideal situation. So how can you trust that might be good for the long term? I don't know. The more you think about it, the more it screws with your head. I mean, I don't know.
I have no idea how you make the decision, to be honest. I really, really don't. But I do look at it and I go, I guess what I'm looking at is I'm going, all right, with the tools that he has, it's so hard to verbalize it, because it's like, in a general sense, it's results. But with the decline in performances, if you start to look at, we could lose a number of games in a row if it continues like this. Like, you could lose to Aston Villa at the next weekend and end up in 6th place. You could. And so it's sort of a question of, do you change things before the disaster strikes to try and offset that? And I guess what I'm looking at is I'm going, there are obvious problems. I don't know if the solution would fix it. But like, I take last night and I go, right, so Cunha doesn't give you depth over there. You're missing Ahmad as a one-on-one person. Bruno's having to drop deep to get the ball again. Casemiro and Mainu were rubbish, not having any effect on the game at all, except negatively, to get your pocket picked and have it go back for a penalty. I understand why there was an inclination to drop Bruno deep to solve some of these problems, to say, let's get him closer to the ball. But you could solve a few problems. You do move Cunha to the center then? Do you move Ahmad to the left wing? Do you try some of these things?
The other thing that's almost become a problem, but the other thing is Benjamin Šeško's been scoring so many goals, you can't, every time I think he doesn't start, it becomes a conversation point. But actually, if you've got Mbeumo through the middle and Ahmad on the right, maybe you've actually got a bit more width because Cunha can go into a false 9, and then you can actually have you can have Ahmad on the left at certain points. It's more fluid. But how do you drop someone like Šeško that's playing well, even though actually when he was coming on in those games a bit more opened up, it's a bit more stretched, it's something different. He can dominate a bit more. He gets more service, which as we saw last night. Yeah. If he doesn't get service, he's not going to affect the game much of anything. So again, what do you revert back to the type that you were already doing? Because like we said, it's not like there are a ton of options here. There aren't a ton of options. So really, I mean, I do think the Leacher absence, that is a big one. That is a big one. Us playing out from defense.
You think so?
Well, I think in the sense that it's not as if like with Leacher, every performance was great. It wasn't that, but
we still had the West Ham game, with the last time he played.
I've noticed this in the last few games, and I don't know why we've got into this weird habit again, but so we either win the ball in a high area, a good area, or we just sort of we play out from the back, beat their press, we're like good. And then it's like the players get either nervous, don't trust themselves to make the pass, and either turn sideways or turn back and then just pass it backwards. And then we do, it's not technically the horseshoe, but we get basically
pretty much the horseshoe again.
We do another version, and you sort of go, well, why did you do that? And at least with Leacher, he will try. Yeah. He'll try and play forward, but others just don't. And then it's slow, and you go, why? Why? Again, you're meant to be fresh. Why aren't you? Why can't you play with intensity? I don't get it. I don't understand. And even this was baffling. I don't know if you heard this during the comms last night, but they were saying like even Carrick was going, play faster, move it quicker, and I guess they just that's the scars once again, isn't it? It's the scars.
The trauma in this team. Yeah, it hits. But it's true because like I posted a picture. There's a 75th minute and it's 1-1. You can look at it on mine as a reply. 75th minute 1-1. There's one player in the box. It is the horseshoe, and it was far forward. But everybody's just standing around in this U shape, like waiting for Bruno to do something. And I'm going, what are you guys doing? Like, run, get in the box, do something, attack it. Like, one player in the box in the 75th minute, and it's Šeško, and he's just standing. So you wonder, and I go, well, yeah, we could say Šeško shouldn't start or whatever, but the only reason Šeško didn't have a good game is because of shit like this. Like, what's he meant to do in this situation? How is Šeško going to affect the game when he's 1 against 6 inside the box? Literally.
Yeah. And bear in mind, they've got 10 men here. We've got more people on the pitch. We've got more people on the pitch.
And we're just passing it back and forth on the right side.
Yeah.
And Cunha's standing out there like having a picnic in space, and we're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, that's what I don't get. And because actually, when you do look at the subs, Xerxes came on, actually did well again, by the way.
So did Ugarte, for what it's
worth. Is funny, yeah. But it's even with the funny thing is, right? We know Ugarte next game, he's not going to start, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
And we know the same for Xerxes as well. And actually, I do feel like Xerxes could have a justified reason to be like, actually, you know what? I've come on and I've done better than some of these people have in the last couple of games, because this is a weird conversation with that front four. I feel like 4 weeks ago, we're going, I tell you what, that front four is one of the best front four in the Premier League. Now, it looks like they can't play together again. And you just go, where is that lack of fluidity come from? Again, is it the lack of intensity? Is it tiredness? Is it tactics? Like, what's changed? What's changed?
One way we could solve this problem is, since our fullbacks aren't very good, we could, maybe put Ahmad at fullback, have him go forward. We could call it like a wing back or something like that.
No, don't start.
And then we can move the forwards a little more narrow so that they can play together, since they like to do that anyway. No. Anyway, no, but I agree with you. But I also think this is where burnout and rotation matter. But I actually agree with your point on, like, that's where I was looking at. I'm going, look, the midfield hasn't worked for 3 or 4 games. So I get it. Everybody wants these midfielders to play together, and everybody's high on Casemiro and Mainu. I understand it. And they're obviously better players. But can't we try something else? Because it's clearly not working at the moment. Or do we
Well,
just
you
say,
want to go back to 3-4-3?
players?
Is that what you're saying?
No. I'm saying personnel. I don't care about the formation. I never really have. But like in terms of subs, because I'm sitting there going, well, can we try something else personnel-wise? Because it's just not working right now. I don't know.
The subs thing was a big thing last night, wasn't it? A lot of people going, oh, you made him too late. You waited too long to get Ahmad on the pitch. And then by the time he came on, he didn't really do anything in the game. We should have brought Xerxes on earlier. Could he have made the subs any earlier? Is he? Because basically, once again, they're doing the Ollie comparison. They're going, he does what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did, which was the 75-minute substitutions. By that point, you've waited too long. You've got to affect the game more. But when was it? When was the game where he put Šeško on like 10 minutes into the second half? I forget which game that was. Was it Everton? I think it was the Everton one. He just like seen enough, made a change early, and it went on and won the game. Is that a worry for you? Does he do Ollie-like substitutions? Or is that, again, a bit of PTSD just comparing to...
I'll be honest. I don't know how to judge substitutions because it's already a different game. Someone at 55 minutes versus 65 minutes or 70 minutes. It's already very different. And there's instances where you could press the advantage and you can make a difference with it. But we always do that. Like, remember, it's always the person, well, if they'd come on 10 minutes earlier, it would have worked out. We'll say that about Joshua Xerxes, and then the next time he comes on a sub, he'll do absolutely nothing for 45 minutes. And it's been like that. It's just, I don't know. Like, those are the types of things that don't matter. I think that at the end of it, like we've been talking about, it's such a hard decision to be made. But I also think that any decision we try to come up with as to how to make things better is just a guess. And it's sort of like, that's why I'm sort of just looking at, for me, it's just their job to figure it out. They got to get us, they got to turn things around a little bit and win in the next game. So whatever you come up with, if it does work, that's great. That's all. I think the truth is that for me, I think that as a fan base in general, we've all suggested so many things and then they'll work and people go, oh, look at that. I was right. And then they won't work. And then nobody wants to talk about it after that. But we don't know. And any choice we make is going to be half and half situation. You're going to give up something for something else. Like me personally, I would go back to a Casemiro Ugarte midfield. I know that sounds ridiculous, but it was the only thing that produced wins last season.
Are you in there? What are you in the camp of? Because I maybe this is just sort of remnants of the Amorim era, or maybe this is just people calling it how they see it. I'm not sure, but there is this extra edge to the Cobby conversation whenever it comes up. Like I noticed that last night too. Like no one had a great game last night. Everyone was crap, but there was a lot of we're overhyping Cobby. We're over gassing Cobby. And actually, is he that good? Are we overhyping him? It's in the summer when we're getting a midfielder. Are we getting a partner for Cobby, or are we actually kind of replacing him? Two high-profile midfielders, and Cobby can be more of a rotational player. Is that what you're getting at there, or is it just?
It's not really. The only reason I have an edge on it is because people give me such a fucking hard time about any criticism I did say. The fact of the matter is I like a retrial on the whole running thing. Cobby's not very athletic relative to the rest of the team. That's just the truth. No matter how I said it, he's not the fastest player. He's not the quickest player. He's not the quickest over a long distance. The problem is the partnership, though. Like, that's why I'm talking about a change, because I'm going, it's more the partnership. Cobby's not fast. Casemiro's definitely not fast. I'm watching Joelinton look like Neymar in the midfield against them last night, and that wasn't to be unexpected. Newcastle have a very fast midfield and a very physical midfield in Tonali and Joelinton. Like they do that to a lot of teams, but it especially stood out last night in that case. You see the gap athletically between the two midfields. It's crazy. For me, it's about balance and partnerships. I look at it and I go, it's not Cobby's shit and it's not Casemiro's shit. Together, they have a massive weakness, like a huge weakness in there in terms of the athletic profiles. So when I suggest like change something, I know you go and put somebody else on, you're giving up one of the positive traits that either of those players bring in. I know 100% you're giving that up and a trade-off for something else. And I'm just going, you might have to. I don't know. I don't know the answer. That's more my point is like, if you had Tonali next to Cobby, then his deficiencies look a lot less. And it's the same for me with the Lisandro discussion. For me, it's not about like a targeting one guy. With Lisandro, I think Lisandro's really good qualities. I don't actually like him next to Maguire for any game that isn't a deep block, because I watched Lenny Yoro, and like that West Ham game when Lenny comes on, we can see 2 or 3 goals if Lenny's not on there with the pace, to go back and clean up. And I look at partnerships. I like Maguire and Yoro. I would probably like Yoro and Lisandro together. You know what I mean? Because deficiencies get covered up.
Yeah, I mean, with the defenders, this is something I've mentioned recently anyway. There's been obviously the talk about, get Maguire a new deal, 1-year deal. And I've been like, no, I look at our centre-back options next season, and I think we're actually quite limited, because I look at De Ligt.
Me too, yeah.
Injury-prone. Leacher, I like Leacher, but injury-prone.
Yeah.
Maguire, this season, he's been in and out because of injuries quite a bit.
Last couple seasons, yeah.
He's getting to the end of his career. And Yoro, we've seen a bit shaky. Obviously, I think we see
needs time, high, right? You don't want him to be the guy every week, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Aiden Heaven, that's the same. So I look at that and go, actually, we need options there.
I'm in the same camp as you.
And I agree with what you're saying there. I think it's about partnerships. Certainly, yes. I think with Leacher, it would help us in the games that he has missed, just because there does feel this sort of, I don't know, trepidation to play forward or play quicker where he does help. I get your point about the recovery pace though, but I think that goes back to partnerships. And I think actually when it comes to the midfield, I think that's about partnerships too, because
totally 100%.
This is where we have to choose our words very carefully, because this is where you got in trouble last time. Cobby can run, right? Cobby can run. He can also cover distance, as was proven this season. He can cover distance
over time.
Yeah, exactly. That may be quick out the block, or that sprint to make a recovery kind of player. Not that. And actually, what has disappointed me the most with Cobby in the last few games is, for as technical player as he is, he's been losing the ball quite a bit in really
the dueling has been pretty poor. He's lost it quite a bit. Yeah,
and you sort of go that you're better than that. Casemiro, he's 34, so we know his deficiencies.
It is what it is.
Even that. I mean, I'm actually getting more concerned. Not that we shouldn't have let him go and what have you. Definitely still the right decision for him to go at the end of the season. But that influence that he has on that team, we're not going to replace that. We're not going to replace that. And I'm just thinking next season, like, who's going to step up and do that? Because I don't know if you saw the statistic of, well, maybe this has now changed a bit, but before last night, it was 1 loss in 26 that he started. If he's not been involved, last 7 games, he's not been involved. We haven't won any of them. We've lost them all, I think. And obviously he scores too. So you just sort of go, that influence, where's that going to be next season? And I don't think you get it from someone you bring it. Let's say you sign Elliot Anderson. Obviously you don't get that, that kind of leadership. So someone else is going to step up, but who steps up there? Who steps up? I don't have an answer to that actually. And then when it comes to Cobby, maybe the danger that he has is, are we buying a partner for Cobby, or are we just buying maybe a brand new midfield partnership, and Cobby's got to try and fit into that? And does he end up in the same position that he was at, under Ruben as well?
He might. I mean, look, it's going to be, anytime a new manager comes in, it's going to be a new discussion, right? Because they're going to have a new insight. They're going to have a new evaluation, and they're going to look and say, this is what I want. If United buy 2 midfielders, Cobby's going to compete. And that's what's probably going to happen, right?
Yeah.
He's going to be competing with them. And it's going to be 3 players, at least, maybe 4, competing for 2 positions. You have to be okay with that. I'm not saying he won't get in. I'm not saying he can't get in there. But I don't think it's correct to say Cobby Mainoo is a shoe-in for the starting position for United going for a title, because I don't think he's at that level yet. He doesn't have to be. He's quite young. And it's the same way I'd feel about Lenny Yoro. I'm not going to sit there and go, well, Yoro's going to be starting every game next season, has to. He's the guy. He's it. So we don't need a center back. No. We need people, because we need something solid here.
Put it this way, James. And actually, let us know in the chat about this. Those top teams that are like, title-winning teams. So you look at maybe the current Arsenal team, current City team, last year's Liverpool team, say, would Cobby be a shoe-in definite starter in that midfield? The answer is probably no, I think. He'd be in and out.
Yeah, he'd be in and out. Yeah, which is
actually
fine.
it's gone very all or nothing with him again, isn't it? Because he goes from academy player to integral to the team to new manager in, doesn't really fancy him, completely out the team. And now he's back to being one of the names you always expect to see in the starting 11. And I don't know, are we making the same mistakes then again, where it's just he's gone back to being a shoe-in and actually he should be, like I said, those other players, if he was at those more top tier teams, that kind of in and out, because there are quality players, is that what it should be like?
Well, from a team building perspective, how we should be looking at it, they should be making an assessment, which is these are the players we feel like their positions are settled, and it doesn't mean they're not going to come in and out and play in or out on form and things like that. But these are the players we think are settled or good enough because the perspective of, Wilcox, Parada, Vivell has to be, we're building a title winning squad. This is Project 2028. We're talking 2 years from now. That's the way they're approaching it. And to be fair, I think they have approached the market in that way. In the purchases of Cunha and Bumo, like they're going for top tier players they think are good enough to go and win titles with. So they're going to be looking at the club and the 11 on that basis and saying, well, who are the guys we think are good enough to win titles with? Who are the rotational pieces? Who are the guys who need to be got rid of? And then you got to plug those gaps. Well, I think they feel Bruno is in that title winning category for a couple more years. That's why they want to keep him.
Well, they hope at least one,
there.
At least one more.
At least one more. They're hoping, right? So they think, all right, we've done that. We've done that. We've done that. Well, no, Kobe doesn't fit into that because they were willing to sell him. If they wouldn't have been willing to sell him if they felt he fit into there. So just from an objective step back conversation, he's not viewed at the club as a shoe-in for a title-winning starting 11 that we're building moving forward. He's viewed as a player who will be in and out of the team, and that's fine. And I think that goes for everybody, frankly. I mean, when I look at it, the further back you go, the more we have players like that. Casemiro is obviously leaving, so that's natural. Kobe, anybody in the back line, I'm not going to, no matter how much I like them, none of them am I going to sit there and say, they're a shoe-in to start for this team next season. They shouldn't be. That's why I hope we buy defenders, because I think we have a lot of 6 out of 10 players who can have a 10 out of 10 game, but they're not, for different reasons, be it age, injuries, youth. In the case of Dorgu, they're not like these guaranteed top level players. They're decent. I think they're not bad. For all their faults, they're not bad. I mean, Dallow's never as bad as he gets criticized for, but he's definitely not a top right back.
Well, come on.
No, he has games. He has games where he's as bad as he gets criticized. I mean, on average, he's not like a 1 out of. He is on average. He's a decent player. I think on average, I think on average, Mazraoui's a good player, but none of them are great. None of them are great.
No.
None of those players I would say are great. Maguire on his day, but there's the age, there's the other factors. Lissandro on his day, but nobody's a Rafa Varane in that back line. You know what I mean? We don't have that level of player. We don't have a Rodri in the midfield, pre ACL injury. We don't have we don't have a prime Kyle Walker at fullback. Like, we don't have that level, or a Trent or a Robertson. We don't have that. We just don't. I'm talking title winning players. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't have that
true.
quality at this stage. So you wouldn't consider that any of them should be shoe-ins for the long term right now.
No. And I think also as well, just that's maybe also why Carrick's not really rotating that much at the moment, because there's not a lot to rotate, because again, there's not a huge amount of options. The midfield does pick itself at the moment with Casemiro and Kobe, because it feels like we've only got 2 midfielders at the club. I mean, technically we've got more, but like Ugate's just not going to start games. And then who else have we got that can play midfield? That's about it. Mason Mount, where is
why
he?
Bruno was dropped deep, again.
We
say that is why.
we don't really have those options. But I was just thinking then with Kobe, with that, is that yet another reason that all of this contract stuff could bubble up again? Because
yes,
when you're heavily recruiting for a position that you play in, and then you're going, wow, what am I going to be next season? Because depending on how the transfer window can go, I can either be an integral player or a rotational player. And my contract should maybe value differently depending on what I'm doing at the time. So
and that's going to be the argument between him and the club. Yeah, on this discussion, is he's going to be saying, well, look, I'm first 11. And they're saying, well, not really. That's the debate. And how it goes to the end of the season is going to determine that as well. But I still have worries over that, because I really hope a contract gets done.
Yeah.
I really like, again, making it very, very clear on this. I like Kobbie Mainoo, and I think he's a very good player. Like, I don't know how many times I can say that. I criticize all my favorite
clip now.
players.
They'll just take out right? They'll just find you saying "don't" somewhere, and it'll go, "I don't like Kobbie Mainoo."
It'll be great, right? But no, it's like I criticize everybody on this team at all times. You know, in terms of the strengths and my personal view is that it's silly to not acknowledge the strengths and weaknesses of the players, because then when they have a bad game, it's an overreaction. You know, it's like I said about Šeško to start the season. I said, look, where he needs to get better is being a box striker, having more influence on the game, scoring goals. First 6 months, he had a rough time of that.
Yeah,
I actually felt better about Šeško at the 6-month mark than I did at the start of the year, when a lot of people were really down on him, because I recognized what his weaknesses were, and I actually thought he was getting better at them. And then bam, he goes on a big scoring run, and now he looks great. And I had major doubts on him in the beginning, but I feel the same about a lot of players. Like, you can criticize some of the faults that they have without it being like, oh, they're crap, they're shit, you don't like them, you got an agenda and all that. I want Kobbie to stay. But if all our players were faultless, if as many of our players were faultless as sometimes it's represented, we'd be a lot better than we are. But we're not. We've been kind of shit a lot of the times the last few years, which means our players are not the best. They got weaknesses. A lot of them have weaknesses. Yeah. That's just the reality.
This is something I say quite a lot. You know, we're so quick to call the players criminals, and then we act shocked when they do criminal behavior. You go, well, it's kind of who they are, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's kind of what it is. I mean, and now also, I was saying this morning, you do have to try, I think, at least maintain perspective and sort of take a step back and go, okay, outside of last night, where are we still at in the table? All right, we're still third. We're still in a good position. We should, I mean, you don't want to say it out loud too much, but European football in general, broad strokes, you feel like we're heading in that direction next season. What competition that is, I won't commit to that just yet. The next game's really, really important as well. Aston Villa at home. How are you feeling about that one? You know, because recent years, our record's actually all right against Villa at Old Trafford, from just off the top of my head. I remember, obviously, even last year's team beat them on the last day, thanks to some maybe dubious refereeing at the time. Are you feeling that we're going to bounce back on that one? Or is the worry, it's Villa, they like to play on the transition maybe more than us? You know, then are we going to be forced to have the ball again? And are we going to be worried they're going to hit us on the break?
Yeah. Well, I am worried. Like, the next game is always the most important one on this front, right? Like, we've had this setback, decline in performances. I feel like that should be hopefully like all right, how do we fix this now? How do we, you know, I think the goal the last few games was, let's just keep it going because we're still getting results. And that's fair. But once the result drops, you want to figure out how to turn it around. My worry with Villa is I feel like the way we've been winning a lot of the games recently is going, we're both going to be kind of shit, but our forwards are going to win the game and yours aren't. And that's pretty much what happened, right? Against Everton, they just couldn't find a way through. We did. Against Palace, they couldn't find a way through. We get a red card and then we find a way through. Newcastle was kind of the same. Their forwards were awful in the first half. They could have scored a lot more against us if they had decent players. And we were betting on our forwards and players finishing. So our forwards have a bad game, we lose, you know.
We missed chances too. That kind of gets forgotten, actually, doesn't it? You know, we had quite a few chances,
We totally missed chances, but that's kind of my point. Is like, we missed chances, they missed chances. The balance went in their favor this time. We lose the game. Well, Villa's going to be kind of like that, I think. But the concern is they also have match winners. They have better match winners up front than the last few teams we've played, right? Morgan Rogers did it to us last time. We were better than Villa. And Morgan Rogers just banged two in the corner and that's it. They have match winners. They have experienced goal scorers. So I feel like they're going to want to play the same game we're going to want to play. And, you know, try to just let their match winners win the game. And it's a coin flip for me. So I'm a little nervous about it.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it just because, again, a recent record at home against Villa is pretty solid.
Yeah. And they're not very good right now either, for what it's worth.
That's actually what worries me.
But that's the scary part, right?
Because we've been saying that about quite a few teams we faced recently. Like it was the same with Newcastle,
It's
right?
the same as ever. The worse
yeah.
teams we play, the worse we play. Like it's
yeah, exactly. And every time I seem to watch Villa, I keep seeing Emi Martinez making mistakes, which means, of course, when we play him, it'll be brilliant.
Revenge game,
yeah, of course. And he got sent off last season at Old Trafford. It's going to be a whole thing, isn't it? But I do think that will win. But this was the point I was making before with all of it, is we'll also lose games that we expect to win. And this is the nature of the beast. As long as if we keep up the same run that we've been doing so far under Carrick, so you go, right, you'll win, 5 or 6 games out of 8 or what have you, and then you'll lose one or you'll draw a couple. You go, that's more than enough for us this season. That's more than enough that we need. And that will get us the Champions League. But my worry is almost, I know that the players know that. And over the last few weeks, there has been this maybe bigger feeling that, not that it's a foregone conclusion, but we'll get Champions League. But a lot of people have been talking about it more as if it's a bit more of a certainty, going, all right, yeah, United, they'll be in Champions League next season. And I just worry, did the players start thinking that, Because even though, like us fans, we won't want to admit it out loud, but we've all thought it over the last few weeks going, I think we're all right. I think we're all right for next season, And now it's that kind of, has that affected the players a little bit? And is that going to affect in a game against Aston Villa? Which is, effectively, it's somewhat of a final. And the last final that we were in with this group of players didn't go so great. They froze. So that's my worry too.
Well, I think that maybe is where we get the benefit of putting the pressure on over the next 11 days as fans. Where maybe being a little more negative is a good thing, because I do know that there's a balance here, because I know the negativity gets to them when things are bad and they're in the dumps and all that. But maybe it's more of like the right line is always riding that edge of danger. You know what I mean? Like you should always feel that edge. Like you have it. You can never feel like you've made it, because then you get complacent. Yeah. But you also don't want to get dragged down and beaten into the dumps of despair, because that doesn't work either. There's like a competitive edge. And I feel like maybe that's a good line for us all to ride. Like we could be 6th after that game.
Yeah.
We could. We could also be in a good state. Like what mental state works, I don't know. It
also depends a little bit, just again, how the atmosphere is that day at the ground, because when we played City, you just felt, even as soon as the game started, you just felt it like we're going to win today. You couldn't really explain why. People like, the crowd are just going to push us so much, you're just going to win. But then sometimes the opposite that happens, of there is this expectation, it's really quiet, the football's a bit slow, and then you start going, and it's been like that last few home matches where it's a bit quieter and things have been slower, and there's been this feeling of they're not going to screw it up, are they? They're not going to screw it up, and we just get over the line. And I just really hope we get the former atmosphere in that game, because I think the players, again, they might need it just a little bit. And I do think we'll get over the line there, but I don't know about how pretty it's going to be defensively. We are a bit defensively. We're just, because we've got so many people missing. I mean, there shouldn't be a situation. How in 2026, in March of 2026, is Terrell Malacia getting minutes at St. James's Park?
That was crazy to me. If I want to have one objective criticism of Carrick, I have no idea why he put Malacia on. And I'm not saying we had so many options, but I would have done anything before putting Tyrell Malacia on. Well, you had Aiden Heaven on the bench,
Yeah, you could just do that, couldn't you? Because Malacia, he looked like someone that genuinely had not played football in the longest time. I mean, that goal, he's staring backwards. He's staring backwards. I don't even know how you end up in that position. How
I would have put Ahmad at left back first and sub someone else on. That. Like it was just, that was the only one that I just objectively go, Carrick, please never, ever, ever, ever put Tyrell Malacia on the pitch again. He's a free agent in 3 months. He's had like 16 knee surgeries. He's missing for 2 years. He hasn't played football. It's not his fault, but that is not a footballer for Manchester United. He's there for the numbers. That's it. He shouldn't be on the pitch. Aiden Heaven should have come on, or you should have done something different. That only objective thing, because I don't get big on, well, this sub would have worked, that sub. But that one was just very confusing to me. I don't know.
It was unbelievable. But again, maybe that just goes to show the situation where Carrick's a bit like, well, what more else can I do? You know what I mean? These are the options that I've got. I've got to bring on Malacia, even though, because I think he came on for sure, And look, that starting record's still alive as well. That's
Every
what a
game, what
prediction
the
that
hell?
is. What a prediction!
Crazy.
That is.
That one came off. That was amazing.
That is one of all the ones, and I know for a fact 'cause I remember it vividly because it was such a wild prediction at the time. In this very chair, I flung myself back and was like, "No fucking way is that happening!" And he's even come off, and he's had illness, and he's still made the game.
He's still making it. He's the only player who started every game this season. It's not just that he met the numbers that I predicted, but that he's the most consistent United player this season of all of them.
Of all of them,
man?
I think
That's crazy.
I think in the Prem in general, I think there's only 20 players or something like that have
he's on that
started
list.
every
He
single
started
game, and he's on
every
that list.
game,
He would he's never been on that list in his life.
No.
What is he? What is he doing there? It's honestly, it's just
It's
unbelievable. But you're right. But even then, with that, you would sort of look at him and go, "Can you do 15 minutes? Because I've got to bring on Terrell. Otherwise, what are we doing here?"
I think Masraoui took an injury, unfortunately.
That was true. Yes, Masraoui. What did you think about that? Because that was a bit of a surprising decision, wasn't it?
Switching them, you mean?
When he went Masraoui instead of Dallo, even starting.
Oh, yeah.
Even that was quite a bit of a surprising one. But
Dallo was really
dreadful.
shit the last game.
Yeah.
So I guess that's why. I'm okay with it. I don't think Dallo would have done better. It's just it's just whatever.
No, that is true. Very quickly then, I mean, there's a lot of time to go until the next game, but an early prediction for the Villa game. We'll see if this changes by next week. It might, to be fair, depending on what we hear.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you never know what we'll hear in the next week or so. I'm also wondering, could Patrick Dorgu come back? Because we saw him with his trainer posting a video.
I did see that.
He looks fit. We haven't seen Lissandro and Mount, but
they were saying mid-April though for him.
Well, I know. We're hearing that it's going to be after this long extended break, right? This long extended break, he'll be back after that. But he doesn't look like a player who's a month away from returning. I mean, he's doing all the moves, the cuts, but hamstrings, I know it's a different game, the distance running, things like that. But I don't know. Maybe he could come back. It'd be nice if he returns. Does Mason Mount return during this period? Because I actually think when he plays, Mason Mount is
minor injury, remember?
Yeah, and then he's just but Lissandro was the same. It was like, he'll be back right after the game. He's going to train next week. And then 2 more weeks are gone, and it's like, well, maybe. Are any of them going to be back? I don't know.
They keep asking that to Carrick in these press conferences. They go, right, team news, any changes? And he goes, no. And you can tell everyone goes quiet, and they go, but I thought you said, okay, well,
and then Delic's, Schrodinger's back. It's good, it's bad, but that's a terrible one.
Who knows with that one?
Months, year, those ones could be devastating. So I don't know. I guess it depends. Right now, I feel like it'll be a 2-2. Both teams will score goals. Both teams will, and I think it'll end up being like a very messy, scrappy 2-2. I can't see much other way because I just don't think either team's capable of keeping the other team out of the net right now with what's kind of what we're seeing.
No, I mean, I was watching the Chelsea Villa game before and during our game yesterday, and that was end to end. It was like a basketball match. It wasn't
really a 4-1 game, was it?
No,
until a point. It was actually quite even until I think halftime. Chelsea got a little bit of a break right before, and then it broke open. But that was a crazy
and some
game.
of the goals that Villa were conceding were shocking as well.
Yeah,
so,
crazy mistakes, things like
exactly. So I'm with you. I think there might be quite a few goals in that one. I think we'll just shade it. I don't know if that's
3-2, 2-2.
Yeah, 3-2, 3-2, something like that.
2 feels fair, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'll go with. Yeah. So there you go, guys. Another episode of Trafford Talk for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe. Be sure to subscribe to the Muppeteers as well. As always, links in the video description below. And we'll be back same time next week, unless we get postponed or cancelled again. In that case, we'll see you in 6 weeks' time. We're out of here. Have a good one. Peace.